It was the feeling of I had something that I knew I was good at, that if I followed it through all the way, like, why not us? We signed with an agent and a manager, the script sells.
Yeah.
And I called Goldman Sachs and said, I got to do this other thing. And they're like, you're crazy. The characters or the concept of the characters, Harold and Kumar, were in every script that we wrote. Like, I'll say anyone who you view as successful in this business has many down periods. What if we actually did Cobra Kai as a TV series? What if we basically do the story where we give Johnny's life actual pathos? And if you're doing a TV series, you can actually have a whole new generation of karate kids. We keep going on the pitch and they're like, okay, let's just stop right now, because they're like, we're doing the show and you're going to do it here. And we're going to explain to you why you're doing it with us.
Jon Hurwitz, welcome to General Meeting with Becky Slopeter.
I am so excited to be here.
I couldn't be more delighted that you're here. We've known each other for what feels like forever. And actually, Matt and I were reminiscing a little bit. Did we initially meet because where my brother-in-law Luke and Billy and Schumann all live? Did you all live in that same complex on Bedford?
We did not live in that complex, but we were good friends with Billy and Schumann. I met Billy and Schumann, actually, at the Cannes Film Festival in 1999. Penn had a program called the Penn and Cannes program. They didn't have a big film program there, but they had this one professor, Professor Katz, who had some relationships at the Cannes Film Festival. They send 20 students there, every year. And you would go there and you'd make fake business cards and pretend you were in the business. And you would get some form of credentials. They weren't high-level credentials, but you got into certain things. I met Billy there, and Schumann was there as an intern for Miramax. A year later, when Hayden and I had a screenplay that was sort of making its way through town, we didn't know anyone out there other than Billy and Schumann, and we slept on their couch.
This is actually a good segue. I want to start at the beginning if we could.
Sure.
Are you New Jersey?
New Jersey.
What town?
A town called Randolph. I was born there. I lived outside of Pittsburgh for 7 years, then moved back to New Jersey. And Randolph was high school for me.
And then went to Penn.
Went to Penn, yes. I was a finance major planning to be an investment banker. And that was sort of the practical kind of path that I was on. I was always this entrepreneurial, businessy kid.
Yeah.
But I always had a creative bent as well. So I was always, in my spare time, writing things. Or when I ran for, office in my high school, I wrote a bunch of comedic posters that were all over the school. So watching people's reaction to the posters, I remember I did 10 more reasons to vote for Jon Hurwitz for president. And I did 10 of those, 10 different lists. And my buddy and I went all over the school and just posted them all over the walls one weekend. And we came in on Monday. And I just remember everyone gathered around and just laughing.
And what that feeling was.
And getting that feeling of okay, the comedy that I'm putting out there is working on all types of people, whether it was the smartest kid in the school, the biggest troublemaker in the school, or the principal of the school. They were all looking at the signs. They were all laughing.
Yeah.
And that's when I first started to get the bug of maybe there's something there. And Hayden and I became friends.
Hayden Schlossberg, we should say, your writing partner. Hurwitz and Schlossberg, yes.
So Hayden and I were friends from high school. We became friends.
Oh, you guys grew up together?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We became friends our junior year in high school on the debate team where all the cool kids meet. We bonded over our love of entertainment and just comedy in general. The Farrelly Brother movies were coming out, or the old Zucker Brother movies, or Howard Stern or Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Those were all the state on MTV. So it's all that kind of comedy that we were really connecting over. And back in high school, we started talking about we should write movies, we should direct movies together. We should be like the Farrelly brothers or the Zucker brothers, even though we weren't actually brothers. But we knew who kind of the writer directors were behind, some of our favorite movies. And we started talking about writing then.
So the idea of being a team, really, it made total organic sense to you guys.
100%. It was hey, let's do this together. So our thing was in high school, we talked about maybe writing a movie together.
Yeah.
We ended up writing, the only thing we wrote together was there was we were kind of known for coming up with like, messed up would you rathers. Would you rather do this messed up thing or that messed up thing? We were like, let's write a book of these. So we wrote like a whole book of them. We had like 250 of them. I remember we went to Barnes and Noble. We're like, okay, who publishes these kinds? And then we got into college, and we were like focused on getting into college. He was.
Did he go to Penn also?
He went to the University of Chicago.
Okay.
He was sort of pre-law. I was going to be a banker, and we're just like, we had this book, didn't do anything with it. Then fast forward a couple years, I'm a sophomore, in Wharton, planning to be a banker. I'm like, involved in like the student-run mutual fund, businessy kinds of things. I remember there was this one day my sophomore year where I went to Urban Outfitters on the Penn's campus.
Yep, I can picture it.
I was in the book section and I saw the book, Would You Rather? And I was like, this is exactly what we wanted to do. And I look inside and there's like about the authors. It's like these two guys who look like Hayden and I, but like 5 years older than us.
Yes.
And literally I called him that day and I said, move in with me this summer. We'll continue our practical paths.
Yes.
Like, I'll get a job in the banking world. You'll get a job that, is on your path.
Yeah.
But at night, like, let's do it. And let's finally write a screenplay together because we've been talking about it since high school. At the time we were, before then we were like, well, we'll have these other jobs and we'll make a bunch of money and then we'll retire early and then we'll start making movies in our 40s or something. And then we're like getting closer and closer to those actual jobs. And we're like, I don't want to do those things.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So I ended up, calling him. He moved in with me that summer. The goal was like, if we could sell a screenplay by the time we graduate, then we could tell our parents that this is a real thing.
Exactly. This is an incredible pivot point. You're in Urban Outfitters and you see this and your heart sinks.
Yeah.
No. And that palpable feeling.
It was the feeling of, I had something that I knew I was good at, that if I followed it through all the way, like, why not us? It could have been us who had the book in Urban Outfitters.
100%. And I think that's such a, the road forked at that moment. You then move out here. Obviously, you are well known for many, many things, and we will get to Cobra Kai in a moment. But Harold and Kumar, that was really like your first big thing. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
We sold our first script 3 months before graduating college.
You did?
So it was...
Was that wasn't Harold
It was not Harold and Kumar.
Okay.
So what happened was the first script we wrote, it was, back when we were writing it, just back, without any Hollywood involvement, it was called Outside the Box. There was a metaphor for like what it was about life. It was about two young guys who were trying to figure out, what they wanted to do after college. And they were kind of based on a version of Hayden and I.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing about that was our goal at the time was we wanted to bring back the R-rated youth comedy. Yes. We were like, we were in college. It was a time where, in our early childhood, there was like Revenge of the Nerds and Porky's and those kinds of movies that were like huge. And then PG-13 came along.
Yep.
And the studio system started making all comedies for young people became PG-13 because they didn't want to cut out a certain portion of the audience. What we felt, and what I think eventually proved to be true, was you're cutting out an authenticity of young people.
You're diluting it.
Like high school kids swear.
Yes.
They're talking about sex.
Yes.
It's not everything's a Shakespeare play. And I love those movies that were Shakespeare plays, but they felt like they were more for like a female audience and 100%. Guys could enjoy them. Like I loved 10 Things I Hate About You very much.
Sure.
I love Clueless.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't love those movies, but it wasn't speaking to me in like a personal way. So our thing was, if we could bring back the R-rated youth comedy where characters sound like, R-rated characters and sound like us and our friends. And that was what we were writing. So we were writing that. We're writing that movie. I remember between our sophomore and junior year, we finished a draft. It's 250 pages on Microsoft Word. And I remember being on spring break my junior year, and I go to see the movie Cruel Intentions and the trailer for American Pie. And I remember calling Hayden and saying, someone made our movie. Like in the trailer, it's like, it looks like the opening scene, a kid's getting caught masturbating. Our opening scene is a kid getting caught masturbating. So we were like frustrated. But I remember when I was in Cannes, I saw American Pie for the first time. It hadn't come out yet.
Oh,
they
wow.
played it. They played it at the Cannes Film Festival. I saw it play huge there. I lived in New York that summer, and I saw it like 2 more times in special screenings before it even came out. I bought a bootleg VHS of it. Like I was obsessed with it. And I just was like, someone did it and they did it right. And instead of letting it kill me, I let it inspire me and was like, okay, like this clearly worked for the audience.
Yep.
Now let's try to sell ours. So great. We had no connections in LA. We end up like being like, okay, it's the early days of IMDb. Yep. I go on there. I'm like, okay, well, if we could meet anybody, who would it be? Well, it's either the Farrelly brothers or the Weitz brothers who just made American Pie. And we're like, well, some big producers and directors, they don't want to talk to some college kids. Yeah. So we end up we're like, there's the same assistant director on all those movies, all the Farrelly Brothers movies and American Pie. It was J.B. Rogers. We didn't know what an assistant director was. We didn't go to film school. He's an assistant to the director somehow. He knows the directors.
Yes, exactly.
So like if we could get it in his hands, maybe he'll like it and he'll pass it along. And literally I called the Directors Guild and they just gave me his phone number.
I mean,
so
I love this so much. Yeah. It was a different time.
It was a different time.
But I love it.
They gave me his number. I end up calling him and convincing him to read the script. He reads the script and he's like, this is great. He passes it on to the producers of American Pie. They loved it. Yep. It starts getting passed around. And next thing we know, we had this producer calling us from LA wanting to like make the movie.
Is that Chris Moore?
No, it was actually, it was at Guy Perry where they had it. And then Matt Berenson through Palak Patel.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of like,
so small.
Yeah. So it was like all this stuff is happening. Yeah. Berenson calls me and says, okay, it's time to send it to some agents and managers. Maybe in a few weeks, you'll start hearing from some people. And the next day I'm in my legal studies class and I check my cell phone and I had 6 messages from reps trying to sign us.
Oh my God.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah. I had an offer from Goldman Sachs in LA. And I was like, I'll take my cell weekend now. Like, I'll come out to LA. We sign with an agent and a manager. The script sells.
Yeah.
And I called Goldman Sachs and said, I got to do this other thing. And they're like, you're crazy.
I'm sure they were. You're jumping off a cliff getting into this business anyway, right? Yeah. You know how talented you are. You have traction, but still, it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
So when the people at Goldman Sachs are like, good luck, talk to you in a year when you're coming begging for us to hire you again, do you have an anxiety around that?
I felt the massive confidence. We wrote one thing and I had the business mind of me was like, well, if our script is funny and other scripts are not funny, then they'll buy our script.
Yes.
And it worked and it worked. So I was like, okay, this is obvious. And then we moved to LA and the second script we write was a college comedy. And by then a bunch of like American Pie imitators had come out. They were they were not good.
Yeah.
They didn't do well. And now no one's buying R-rated comedy.
I love the story also because of how you ultimately come into the franchise too. So that's just like incredible. Yes. We'll get to that in a sec. So Harold and Kumar.
Yes.
That's the next thing. And Cal and Jon are incredible. You're carving out a new lane with that because of how topical and controversial the humor is, but also it's a stoner comedy. It's so many great things in one, and it really hits the culture. Do you have any sense of that as you're coming up with this idea?
Yes and no. We had written some other scripts that we were developing this one thing and it just kind of like never got good enough to like put on the market. Yeah. And it was like, we were developing all these things. And I should say that the characters or the concept of the characters, Harold and Kumar, were in every script that we wrote. Oh, really? So they were like, we had written like 3 or 4 scripts and Harold and Kumar were in all of them. And even though they weren't always the exact same characters, it was really just this concept that in our world, these were our friends.
Yeah. And you weren't seeing them depicted on screen at all.
You wouldn't see them on screen. Whenever you'd see an Asian character on screen, they had an accent. They did martial arts.
This is what it was.
So our thing was, in all of our depictions of a Harold and Kumar in all of our scripts, they were RJ and Silent Bob, except none of the movies were made. So it was like in all of the scripts that we did, we made a point of saying they were Asian American. There was American accent.
Yeah. Which at the time I don't want to say revolutionary, but really notable.
Yeah. Nobody was doing that.
No.
So it was funny because Harold and Kumar was sort of the response to us taking a bunch of general meetings around town. And in these meetings, people saying to us, you need the big high concept. And for us, why we connect with movies, it's being emotionally connected to characters. And that doesn't mean that in a high concept movie, you can't be emotionally connected to characters.
No.
But more often than not, those comedies played broad in ways that didn't feel, not saying Harold and Kumar is not broad, but
there's a grounded tone to it. And again, your actors are so incredible.
There's a grounded center to it. Like our thing with Harold and Kumar was, we're going to take guys that are like us and our friends, and because it's a stoner comedy, They're going to end up on a grounded adventure. We were saying like, people were like, well, what's the high concept? We were like, let's do the opposite. The opposite situation is, what's the smallest concept of all time? Hey, some guys get stoned and they want to eat hamburgers.
Right.
And not just any hamburgers, they want to eat White Castle hamburgers.
Specifically.
I remember we wrote into the script and we actually filmed it, but it didn't end up in the movie, was literally when their car drives off on their journey, they're parked outside of a McDonald's.
That's amazing.
And it just showed that like, no, it's not about having burgers. It's about having that specific burger. And it's a uniquely kind of American experience to like, have all these options out there for you, but you want that very specific thing.
Completely. And the more specific and passionate and, not to be pretentious about the fact that they want a White Castle cheeseburger, but like it wouldn't have been the same without the White Castle element, right? Everybody loved it. And it was also saying something. So that really catapults you 100%, right?
First of all, the script itself selling, like that was one of the scripts that was getting passed around town and everybody was into it. So it was at that moment where we just started getting hired for rewrites. So it wasn't hard for us to get those kinds of things. And that's when we started being like, oh, like now we're actually like making money in a consistent way. We sell another original idea and then the movie tests really well and we get hired to write a sequel. So we write we go part of the sequel, we get like on our thing, it was going to be Harold and Kumar Go to Amsterdam initially.
Oh, okay. Not Guantanamo Bay.
It wasn't Guantanamo Bay initially. It was like, we're going to go to Amsterdam. And part of our deal was they have to send us on a research trip. So like we're sent to like Amsterdam and we get to like have.
You actually do get this.
Yes.
Like this is in the deal and you go.
And we go and this is all happening and it's all before the movie comes out because it takes like we finish the movie and it comes out like a year later. So like we're waiting all this time and everyone's like, oh, this is going to be this big hit. And then it was not an instant hit. We're like, okay, we have a summer release date, but we're like seeing like, the marketing's kind of like there's not a lot of marketing. And they didn't do like the American Pie thing where they screened it on like, hundreds and hundreds of free screenings at colleges across the country. They weren't,
so you see the reaction.
They weren't doing any of the stuff that like led to the big hit movies. And we're just like, but like, we're like, it's really good. We kept telling ourselves it's going to do well. In the trades, they were predicting it's going to do between like 12 and 18 its opening weekend. And I remember the studio, they hire these, they get these limos and we go and it's like the opening night. We're going to drive all over town and we ended up going from like empty theater to empty theater.
No,
like,
no.
I should say half empty theater to half empty theater. And it was just, I'll never forget, like as the night's going on and the executives are getting like the updates on the numbers and it's not good. And by the end of the night, we're like all like had enough to drink. We were at like a depressing dinner at the end of the night and they call us the next day on the Saturday. They didn't even wait until Monday. They call us on Saturday, like, stop writing the sequel.
No sequel.
Yeah. And they're just like, I remember we're just like, no, it's going to be like huge on DVD.
Yeah.
You'll see, it's going to be this thing. And they're just like, you're idiots. They're like, you guys don't know shit. So like from there, it's like, okay, we turn the page and we're like working on other feature, original ideas and stuff like that. And there are things coming our way, but it's like, at least the reviews were good. And
I was going to say, it's over 20 years ago at this point, but in my memory, like I didn't remember any of that.
No, of course not. No one does, which is the great thing.
It's an interesting thing sometimes in Hollywood too. Box office is one thing.
Yeah.
And when the DVD market used to be so huge, that really could be a thing, right? Like nobody saw Office Space.
No, that was it. And we literally said, it's like Office Space.
Oh, funny. And by the way, you were correct. It becomes sort of a cult classic. You've made 3 of them in the franchise and you have a 4th in development.
Earlier today, I was working on the 4th movie.
I love a story like this too, because that Saturday morning when you're getting that call, you're still in your mid-20s at that point. Like you're not like, I'm hanging it all up. It didn't work. But it is such a blow.
It's a blow. Like I'll say anyone who you view as successful in this business has many down periods.
It's part of it.
Yeah, it's part of it. That's part of the whole thing. It's funny. I was telling, my daughters sort of like, my older one has interest in being in the industry. My younger one isn't so sure yet. Most of their memory of my career is like Cobra Kai.
Exactly.
I've been educating them. I'm like, listen, there are like, there's like ups and downs for everyone. And I consider myself to be someone who's done fairly well. There are people who've done way better than me who you look at their careers, the same exact thing.
I'm going to fast forward for just one second. You have a production company. It's called Counterbalance, right? It's you, Hayden, and Josh.
Yes.
Okay. I am always fascinated by the dynamic of writing partners. First of all, is Counterbalance coming from that you guys balance each other in some way?
I like the idea of that, but the Counterbalance was, inspired by, it's a term, it was an episode title we had in Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And, balance is such a huge thing in Miyagi-Do.
You bet.
But it was really, we viewed our business, our company and our sort of mandates are there's a lot of, stuff that's made in this industry.
Yeah.
And people are often zigging in one direction, and we're sort of a counterbalance, and someone zigging in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So in the time of we're working on other things, it didn't take that long where, okay, well, we're writing another script for New Line.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, and I should say also, just bringing Josh Shield into the situation, we had a great relationship with the execs over there. As producers, Hayden and I sell a couple projects that Josh was the writer on.
Oh,
so Josh Hayden's my best friend from high school. Yeah. Josh is my best friend from college.
Wait.
Josh went to Penn with me, yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So Josh, I met freshman year in college. He lived 3 doors down from me. Hayden would come and visit us every year at Spring Fling. And that was his social life. He went to University of Chicago, and there's not a lot going on there. So he and Josh met. And it's funny, Hayden tells it. He's always like, so there's this guy? Who's this new guy? So they became friends as well. And they've known each other this whole time. So we ended up selling this competitive eating movie called All You Can Eat. That it was something like Hayden and I were going to write it. And then Harold and Kumar 2 kind of percolated.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, it did really well on DVD. Will you guys do a sequel? And we're like, yes, we will now.
Yes.
So then we're like, hey, Josh, why don't you take this outline that we have and you write this script? And then we sold that to New Line with us as producers. Then we sold a pitch of this other thing of his. So Josh was in our world in that kind of way professionally, but
incredible.
But socially, he was just like, he moved to town 9 months after us. He lived a block from us.
Yeah.
Every night we'd finish writing. He'd come and we'd hang out, and the 3 of us would, talk about movies.
Oh, this is amazing.
So then we had movies and typical development. It's like you sell a project, it's moving forward, a director comes on, all that stuff. And then eventually it's like Harold and Kumar 2. So we write Harold and Kumar 2.
Yeah.
And that was of any script. And it was sort of, Harold and Kumar 1 was similar because they bought the script and there wasn't a lot of development after it was fast tracked.
Yeah.
Harold and Kumar 2 was sort of we wrote the script and there were almost no notes. And it was
God,
it was one of the dreams.
Let's go.
They're like, let's go. And then they're looking at directors, and there were new executives we were meeting at New Line. And during that lunch that we had, we're like, well, if we were directing the movie, this is what we would do. If we were directing the movie, this is,
and
we would do this. And they're like, would you guys want to direct the movie? And we're like, yes.
Yes, we would.
And they're like, well, if you put together a pitch like any other director, then you could do it. So we did that, and we got to direct Harold and Kumar 2.
Yes.
So, we did Harold and Kumar 2, and that actually, unlike the first movie, did well.
Yes, it did.
And it was one of those things where it did well, and we had the time of our lives, and that comes out, and instead of the Saturday Call being let's not doing a sequel,
never mind, guys,
the Saturday Call is let's do a third.
Yes.
So then we're developing the third Harold and Kumar, and while we're developing that, we get the call about American Reunion. And that was sort of where we've reached reunion age.
Yes.
We were it was a little after 10 years after our high school reunion would be.
Yep.
For us, it was we were uniquely qualified as fans of American Pie because we were young enough where that was one of our movies.
Completely. You did it right. A reunion movie is really hard to do.
Well, that was our thing with it. We talked about doing reunion movies before that came our way.
Yeah. And
we're the biggest challenge of writing a reunion movie is people have to be emotionally invested in the characters when they're young and then when they're older.
Exactly.
And that ensemble had 3 movies before it that were all worldwide hits. So for people in our generation, we went to high school with Stifler, basically.
Yes.
We went to high school with Jim and Finch and
100%.
And
exactly.
All those characters. They felt like they were part of our thing. So it was really natural for us to write a sequel movie that felt like a true continuation.
These people.
That was a fun experience for us.
I bet.
And I'll say it's interesting because it really was a precursor to our experience with Cobra Kai.
Yeah. How does that all come about? Okay. You have a relationship with Sony and they have the property?
Okay. No. This was a thing that when I talked about that era in our lives where Hayden and I would work all day and Josh would work all day and then we'd hang out at night.
Yeah.
During that time period, we came up with the idea of Cobra Kai as a movie. Okay. And it was really just spawned from, first of all, I'll just say I'm a huge Karate Kid fan, as everyone is.
Yes.
I was as big a fan of Billy Zabka as I was Karate Kid. Perhaps a bigger Zabka fan than a Karate Kid fan.
Yes,
so
Johnny.
To give you like the craziness of the Zabka,
I love it.
Zabka love.
Yes.
When I was in high school and Hayden and I were, our early friendship, I would talk about Zabka all the time. I called him 80s asshole.
Yeah.
And because it's not just Karate Kid,
No, it's
he's
not.
an asshole in Back to School. He's an asshole in Just One of the Guys.
Yep.
And he's an asshole in like European Vacation. And we're just like, every movie this guy's in, he's an asshole, but you can't take your eyes off of him. He's so entertaining.
Yes.
And he was like funny.
Yes.
And there was like more to it than everything. So we're in our early 20s and we're reaching that stage of like early life where you start to like look back on your high school experience. And Hayden and I went to high school together and now we're writing partners. And Josh and I went to college together. So we had like, we were looking back on guys that we knew who were like the assholes in our world when we were, 5 years younger.
Yep.
And we're like mature enough to realize, oh, that kid had like bad stuff going on in his home. There's something wrong in his household. And also the element of like, well, what happens to that guy who was the jerk in your high school? Usually their life doesn't work out great. Yeah. So we started talking about like, what if we got the rights to Karate Kid and we did a movie called Cobra Kai, and it's about Johnny Lawrence, and his life hasn't turned out well. And he ends up basically going back and reopening the Cobra Kai dojo to get his groove back as Daniel has had success. And that was like sort of the thought. But we also had been in the business for like, 3, 4, 5 years at that point and knew that those guys were probably not going to be starring in a studio, not comedy, but a studio feature. Yeah. Just the way the nature of the business was, because they hadn't starred in anything in a long time.
Yes.
So we just didn't do anything with it. So fast forward now, it's post-American Reunion. And, we're developing, some projects, and Josh is developing some projects. And, we're in one of those sort of like, down periods where like things, like you have some momentum on stuff and then it doesn't happen.
And then it doesn't go.
And you're like that. So we were all coming out of stuff and we're like, it's around the time where driving on the Sunset Strip and we see like a billboard for Fuller House. And we're like, Kimmy Gibbler's on a billboard right now, and Stranger Things had just come out. And we're like, that's a huge 80s inspired thing, but without IP, without any connection. Like totally. This is the biggest show in the world and no one had a connection to those characters. What if we actually did Cobra Kai as a TV series? And now we were like older and wiser. Yes. And all of our instincts when it came to television had always been like serialized storytelling. We were watching Breaking Bad. We were watching like all those kinds of shows. And we're like, what if we basically do the story where we give Johnny's life actual pathos. Yep. You have Daniel's life, he's now the big success. And if you're doing a TV series, you can actually have a whole like new generation of Karate Kids. Yes. And our philosophy was, it's like for people in our age range who loved the Karate Kid, or people of any generation who ended up watching it because a lot of people show it to their children.
Yeah,
it's a timeless movie.
Yes.
Then they're watching it for that.
Yeah.
But then if you can do enough real work to the young characters on the show, then an audience can fall in love with them the same way we fell in love with Daniel and Johnny and Ali way back when. Yes. And so we had to, it was the opposite of the typical studio experience situation where it's like, well, they're like, well, we have this IP, how could we mine it? Yeah. It was us coming and saying to our agent, Joe Cohen, who has the rights to Karate Kid. And they're like, okay, well, it's technically at Sony, but Will Smith's company kind of controls it. So we had a meeting with Caleb Pinkett over there. We had this meeting and he's just listening to us the whole time. And he's like smiling and just listening. We're like, okay, what's going on? And then as soon as we finish, he's like, okay, I love this. I love that. I love it. And he's carrying like characters that we mentioned one time, like a half hour ago. He took it all in. And he's like, I'm going to make sure that this happens. The first pitch to Sony, I'll just say, it was hilarious because the executive was not like a Karate Kid fan. So at the end of the pitch meeting, he's like, okay, so like, who's going to play the guys? And we're like, it's the guys. It's like, that's the whole thing with this.
That's the whole thing here, my friend. Zabka, Macchio.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do this.
So then we get the rights and they're like, if you can convince the guys to do it.
Okay.
And then we convince the guys.
So that was the next step. You knew the audience would reject if it wasn't Zabka and Macchio.
100%. So it's funny because in Harold and Kumar 2, so the very first movie we direct, we wrote a nightmare sequence for Harold, which involved Billy Zabka in it. And he was sort of like, flirting with Maria, and it was like a very devastating thing for Harold. And we tried to get Zabka in that, and he passed. And his response through reps was very classy and just saying like, I'm not looking to do something that's like a Karate Kid related thing there, because we had him kind of doing Karate Kid-ish. So he passed on it. A year later, Josh has his movie Hot Tub Time Machine made.
Yes.
And they hire Zabka for that.
Yes.
And Zabka says yes. And they were filming those scenes in Los Angeles. Hayden and I got to go on set that day with Josh, and we all met Zabka there.
Oh, amazing.
And Zabka told us that day, he's like, the reason I'm here right now is because I regretted not doing Harold and Kumar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And so all of us get along really well. Josh keeps more of a relationship with him where they're talking for the next few years, just like once every year or two.
Yeah.
And Josh ends up saying, Zabka had interest in doing something that was like kind of, he didn't think there was any way that he would ever get the rights to the character Johnny.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do something that was exercising his demons, involving that kind of character. So there was never anything that felt that juicy. So once we kind of, we did all the legwork to get the rights for Karate Kid, we end up calling Zabka up and saying, hey, we want to talk to you about a project. And we take him to lunch at this Mexican restaurant, and we pitched the show to him. And he kept having us start. He's like, wait, it's Johnny? And we're like, yes. He's like, you have the rights? We're like, we got the rights. And then he was just like, his mind was blown. And he's like, and Ralph's in? And we're like, well, we haven't talked to Ralph yet. He's like, okay, well, good luck with Ralph.
Right.
Yeah. And he wasn't like, he loves Ralph. So we're like, okay, so Sony, hey, fly us to New York. They're like, you fly yourselves to New York. They're like, they didn't believe in the project. So we fly ourselves to New York, and we have this like long lunch with Ralph, and we're pitching him the idea of a show that's Cobra Kai, but we also did our research on Ralph because we're fans of Ralph Macchio and we're fans of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And we knew that he had said no over and over again to any sort of ideas. And what I think he really responded to was, he liked how it was a different angle for him. He's been pitched the Karate Man a million times. This is something different. But beyond that, the fact that like his character was dealing with the absence of Mr. Miyagi.
Yep.
The fact that he had this amazing mentor in his life, and now he's trying to navigate adulthood without Mr. Miyagi in his world.
Yes.
And the idea that there's new forms of bullying going on in today's world, and that his character could become, that Johnny and he can basically become new versions of Miyagi and Kreese in different ways.
Yes. You knew it had to be about something deeper.
100%.
Ralph agrees to do it.
Yep.
You then take it out and sell it to YouTube Red.
Yes. So our whole plan was, this is a Netflix series. Our thought was, okay, we're going to go around town, and YouTube was a practice pitch.
Yes.
It was the very first pitch that we had. And midway through our pitch, it was clear they they had like 7 executives there.
Really?
So we're like,
all right.
we're like, okay, this is like some serious stuff here.
Yeah.
And then it's like, midway through the pitch, there's sort of like some sidebarring kind of going on with Suzanne Daniels, who ran the place, and our executives over at Sony. And we're like, what's going on here? But we keep going in the pitch, and they're like, okay, let's just stop right now, because they're like, we're doing the show, and you're going to do it here, and we're going to explain to you why you're doing it with us. And we had written 0 episodes of the show. In the room, they basically said, we're going straight to series.
I was just going to say,
we're just
greenlit.
Yeah, this is greenlit. You'll get to make the whole show. It'll be your vision of the show. We'll have, whatever development process, but like, this is what you want to do, what you pitched us today.
That's how badly we want it.
This is how badly we want. A combination of Suzanne Daniels and Dustin Davis. The 2 executives who both were just like fully got it on first bounce.
100%.
And we did pitch it to the rest of the town.
You were like, okay, come in with, because you have great agents.
Yes.
Come in with whatever offer you think is going to take this off the table, but we're not going to cancel these pitches.
Yeah. Everyone wanted it, but no one was guaranteeing that we're going to make it. And the other thing is, this is another just sort of lesson in this industry. It's we were the Harold and Kumar guys. Yes, we had made American Reunion at that point, but it was like, we're known as the Harold and Kumar guys. Josh is known as Hot Tub Time Machine. People who actually watch those movies know that there's a second layer to all of that, and that they're smarter than they seem.
Yes.
That being said, not everyone watches the movies. Not everyone knows the intricacies of a Harold and Kumar movie.
Yes.
So there's this assumption that, those guys, they can only do this. They're not capable of. They're saying that there's going to be like depth and like emotion. There's like Like it's
You're
still,
like,
it's going to feel
yeah.
like it. I feel like all these places were like, maybe this is going to be kind of like the Comedy Central version of the show. And we're
Yeah.
like saying, no, this is like almost like, I don't want to say Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
but like we're saying we're taking this seriously. The joke of it it's not set up punchline.
No.
There will be, Johnny's point of view will be Archie Bunkerish.
Yeah.
It was sort of our thing with
Yeah.
it. So there will be a comedic element, but it'll be a grounded comedic element. But the part of the joke is a meta joke that we're taking seriously Johnny Lawrence's life.
Yes.
By
yes.
this point, he had become such this like pop culture-y, thing.
Yeah.
There was a thing on YouTube of Daniel was the real bully.
Right.
And our thing is like
Totally.
the comedy of this show is how seriously we're taking this world. And if we're doing our jobs correctly, you're going to be crying.
When we started watching the show, and I was like, I love Johnny Lawrence. Like, I don't know what to do with myself. I had like an identity crisis. It's a testament to the writing and the nuance and the complexity. Johnny, and to Zabka's huge credit, Johnny always was more interesting than just the fucking asshole, right?
Yeah.
But you are certainly not like, yeah, Johnny, right?
No.
Just making these characters complicated and interesting. You also discover Sholo in this, right?
Sholo's so good.
He's so good. Matt, he did a small part in a movie Matt made a few years ago, and Matt came home and was like, he might be the nicest person I've ever met.
He
amazing. Is a doll and like really down to play. And what a discovery he was.
All the kids,
Yeah,
on
they
Cobra
really
Kai,
were.
every last one of them, they're wonderful. Sholo was the very first audition we saw for any kid, and I remember we saw that, we're like, well, this is going to be easy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we end up like watching all these other auditions, and there's no one that's close to him in terms of that, and then we had to do like some chemistry reads and stuff like that. But it was Sholo's role like instantaneously.
He's incredible.
Whereas there were other roles that were like the role of, say, Eli/Hawk.
I was just going to say Hawk.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was impossible to find someone who can play the kid who barely speaks.
Yes.
Because he's uncomfortable with his look.
Yeah.
And eventually makes a turn where he's a total badass. So you'd have these kids audition who like can do one side of it or the other side of it,
Right.
but had a hard time being credible as both sides of it. And it took us
Totally.
like 2 months
Wow.
of just auditions, and we're getting closer and closer to shooting.
Yes. And oh God,
And
the
then-
anxiety of that, of I know we'll find this person, but will we? Right? Like
100%.
that second guessing or just that anxiety is the absolute
When
worst.
Jacob Bertrand
when you're
came
prepping.
in, it
Yeah.
just was like,
So
oh my
good.
God, this kid is amazing.
So good. Every single actor on your show, it really like comes to play. You care. They're so specific. That's my favorite thing, right? Like there's nothing generic. And that's when you can really connect to characters and to these storylines.
My whole life, I loved side characters.
Yeah,
like that's like the thing.
totally.
I think the best movies
Yes.
care about every single person who shows up on screen.
It's so true. Mike Shore has this great thing where even if you have one line on any of his shows, but Parks and Rec, you're going to have not just a name, but a full name. So,
Yes.
so you can have that on your IMDb,
Yes.
but also that for an actor who's coming in for half a day or whatever it is, it invests them so much more. They are bringing something only they can bring.
Yeah.
That's what I just love so much about how you cast the whole show.
Well, we have the same philosophy that Mike does when it comes to that. And
Yeah.
it's interesting when I think about, Harold and Kumar, going way back to that.
Yeah.
The reason Harold and Kumar even existed before any of this stuff is because John Cho was MILF guy number 2.
John Cho pops off the screen in that role.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
in one role. He is that one role.
Yes.
And it popped off the screen so much that anytime we were anywhere at any party after that movie came out and we're with our friend Harold,
Yes.
people were like, MILF. Anytime we'd write Harold and Kumar into those early scripts, we're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that John Cho could play him.
Of course.
And when John Cho did like the show Off Center that the Weitz brothers produced, we're like, oh, he's like Kramer on this show. He's hilarious in this bigger role.
He's incredible.
And that gave us the confidence to write Harold and Kumar. It's like there's an actor that exists, so we were writing that for him.
That's always the best too. Knowing for Zabka and Ralph that you had them to specifically write for, but they are not the characters who were on screen in 1984.
No,
like, they are really, really different. The palpable regret coming off of Johnny Lawrence was something you could so immediately hook onto. And then, I mean, truly, I was like, when you brought Allie back. Oh my God. Did you always know you wanted to do that?
Yes.
Was Elisabeth down with it initially? What can you tell us?
I'll tell you everything. So the funny thing is, we had such confidence in Cobra Kai that from the beginning, we're like, we're going to do like 6 or 7 seasons of the show. Like, we believed that it should be Stranger Things. We felt like if we get to do what we want to do, we know this is going to connect with an audience. On YouTube, we didn't know what that looked like, but we discovered like immediately the first day it comes out, and then you see the numbers going through the roof,
Yes.
like in real time. We're like, and it did so well with the reviews that we're like, okay. And they picked it up the first day it came out. So,
Yeah.
you know, our plan was, okay, we're going to course this out. We're going to have, you know, Kreese comes back at the end of season 1. And we're going to have Allie come back at some point, and then we're going to have like, you know, the characters from Karate Kids, you know, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And that, you know, we had this whole like long-term plan.
Yeah.
And Allie was like, you know, one of the main things. So we had so many dedicated scenes in the first couple seasons where Allie's referenced, where there's flashbacks to Allie. So clearly we're building towards this thing in a way that
She wants to do it.
It feels like we're doing this in a way with the confidence that, well, the show's good and she's going to want to do it and that kind of thing, without like knowing in any way if she would actually want to do it. And what it turned out at the time was she had a complicated relationship with the Karate Kid. Like, we didn't know this. And she's talked about it, I think, publicly a little bit. But, you know, she, like, you know, when her first movie was Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And when the second movie came out and she was like going to be written out of it, and they first came to her to like do one scene in one day, it like was a gut punch for her.
Of course.
And it was really painful, and she had a lot of like frustration about that for the entirety of 30 years.
Oh my God. Even though she goes on to be Elisabeth Shue in Adventures of Babysitting and like, all the things.
Yeah, had me award, like all this stuff. She's just like an incredibly successful person.
But yes.
But someone who has,
but yeah, it stays with you.
You're a young person, and
that is a ridiculous level of rejection, considering also how incredible she is in Karate Kid and what their relationship means.
You know, we took her to lunch, and, you know, she was very clear that she wasn't sure if she wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I think she felt that we felt how she did. We're like, we're here to make it right. 100%. We're here to fix what went wrong back then. We were not involved. We were children when that came out.
Exactly.
And
we're just as pissed.
Yeah. And now we're here.
And we're going to do right by you. Because that was, I mean, golf and stuff. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I lost my mind. Like, you delivered on what that needed to be.
Yeah. Well, it was us taking her to lunch, and it was a combination of, you know, filmmaker friends of ours who had worked with her, who were fans of the show, who were like telling her,
vouching for you guys.
They're like, you got to do the show. And eventually she said yes. But the crazy thing was, it came down to the wire.
And what season was that?
This
4?
was season 3. I will say it's interesting because as season 3 is being filmed, all of YouTube's other shows are getting canceled. And we're like, they're going away. We're like, they haven't told us this because they had said to us,
you're a juggernaut.
Yeah, they had said to us, okay, you can make your show as long as you want. Yeah. But then we're like, can we?
Right, totally.
Because it feels like this is going away. So internally, we said to Sony, we're just like, because Sony's saying to us, like, listen, like, they're trying to negotiate and they're all these things. And they're like, and we're like, we need to get this done. They're like, well, what's your alternative if you don't get it done? If we can't get it done, we're like, we have no other plan. We had a backup plan.
Sure.
But we're like, we don't have a backup plan.
Smart.
And we were working with our current executive together to set the stage
maneuver
where Sony was going to do right by Elisabeth Shue, get her there. But we were like, we had filmed like episodes 6 and 7. She comes episodes 9 and 10. Yes. So like, we're like deep into the season, and we had written the episodes, and we know that if we do this, and for us, we're also thinking like, there's a chance that either this is going to be the end of the show and we have to have her there. But what we were really thinking was, what's going to happen is we're going to be in post-production. They're going to tell us that there's no more, that YouTube is going away. And we're going to say, let us move the show.
Yeah.
elsewhere. And hopefully we could get it to Netflix. And literally it played out like that. So we have the season ready to go. Then we get that call. They're like, we've never had to make a call like this. You have this hit show, but like we're going away.
Yeah.
So we have to like cancel it.
Yeah.
And we're like, don't air season 3. We're like, just don't air season 3. Let's together shop season 3 around town, and let's hopefully find another home because we want to make more seasons. The story is supposed to be 6 or 7 seasons long.
Yeah.
And then we end up finally selling it to Netflix and experience that second wave of the show.
Which is a very modest way of putting it. It's really like rubber meets the road at that point for that to also be season 3, because you've really gotten your sea legs at that point, and it has a real audience who is dying for more. And then the rest of the world that didn't even know it existed, discover it and have 2 seasons to go back and binge.
It was so funny because, I remember it was it moved over during the pandemic.
Yep.
So right before the pandemic.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right before the pandemic, we were in that sort of stage where we were starting to shop it around, and we had lunch with Eugene Levy, who we obviously knew from American Reunion.
Yeah.
And he had just experienced Schitt's Creek moving over, and they had made like 4 seasons or so of Schitt's Creek for Pop TV and for the whatever
CBC.
For CBC.
Yeah.
So it's like they had that whole experience. And he was just like, it's crazy if you get it to Netflix. So during the pandemic, we're trying to get it to Netflix. We get it to Netflix. And like Eugene, we had this unique experience where I'd say the difference was for him, Schitt's Creek felt like a smaller show. Even though we were on YouTube, it felt big to us.
For sure.
It was one of those things that like it had a dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
People were making fan art. Like we were having multiple seasons.
Yes.
You're seeing lots of numbers on the show. There's podcasts about it. So it felt big to us.
Yeah.
And then it comes out on Netflix.
And then you're like,
and we're like,
we didn't realize what big was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was the first time. The thing that was so fun about it was the show that like we knew it was big on the internet. It was big.
Right.
You'd read all this stuff. But it was in my everyday life. I'm like, taking my kids to school. None of the other parents know the show. No one has watched. And then suddenly it's like, every kid in my kids' classes and every parent there now knew the show.
One of the many wonderful things about it, it was such perfect co-viewing.
Yeah.
We loved it.
The thing that was so fun about that show, the cast and crew was so close knit. It was such a wonderful family environment, and everyone was so proud of working on the show.
I bet.
That on set, it felt like the dojos. It was like everyone's wearing Cobra Kai Miyagi-Do shirts on set. Every crew member. And it was just sort of like we all like...
It's the best, isn't it?
It was such an amazing time making the show.
And that's, there's success in this town that's measured by box office or ratings or whatever it is. There's monetary success. And then there's the experience of making something. But when it can all come together and you get all of that, God bless. Just for everybody involved, I'm so happy for you guys. It's like everyone is a good human and was making the same show and cared. That's the other thing. There's not a cynical bone in that show's body.
Yeah.
And that I think also at a time when we really needed that.
It was an earnestness that
in a great way
was a huge element of the show.
Yeah.
And that was the fun with it. And it was also fun for us to grow as writers and for the people to see that, we had other layers to the work that we could do.
Exactly.
It was really fun.
You're producers as well.
Yes.
You have 72 Hours coming out.
We have 72 Hours coming out in July.
This is the Netflix movie with Kevin Hart, Marcelo Hernandez, an incredible cast.
It's really fun. This was an idea that Hayden and I had. We wrote the spec. We wrote it 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it bounced around the multiple places.
As things do.
It's been rewritten with us. We've been producers on it.
So great.
From the beginning as well. Amazing. And producing with other great producers.
Yeah.
On the project. New writers did a great job on the latest. And we've been developing other things. We're writing right now Knight Rider as a feature for Universal. So, the hope is that we go off and direct that.
You are always juggling a lot of projects. That is the nature of the beast. Yep.
We're currently writing another Harold and Kumar movie, Harold and Kumar 4.
Yes.
We're developing a wide array of different projects. We have things that we're writing. We have things that other writers that we've worked with over the years are writing, and we're producing. Maybe Hayden and I are directing something. Maybe Josh is directing something.
Yeah.
We have a wide array of TV projects that we've been developing as well. We have some projects that we've sort of set up around town that aren't really announced yet, that we're producers on but not writers on.
Yeah.
And then we have a bunch of projects that we're developing as us in similar ways to how we did Cobra Kai, where we're the writers and showrunners of the show. Would probably direct some episodes, like we directed a ton of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And
so great.
We're just sort of constantly working on different things. And so it's, as we're writing one thing, we're developing other things in the background. You hand in this, now you're finishing the script on this, and you're giving notes on other projects. And, we work with a great team at Counterbalance.
Yeah.
And, our execs,
it's incredible.
Our execs are wonderful.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, incredible. I'm so happy for you guys. I think we've gotten to the part of the podcast that we do at the end of every podcast, Last Looks.
Okay.
Movies.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite of all time?
I mean, I have so many.
I know.
It's hard for me to say, things ranging from Good Will Hunting to Ocean's 11 to Big Lebowski, Major League,
Thank you.
Karate Kid,
Yes.
Back to the Future. But one that's really special to me is Kingpin by the Farrelly brothers. It's the first movie that Hayden and I saw in the movies together, and it was one of those things that I think probably after that movie is when we started talking about writing together.
Yeah,
it was one of those things that we were understanding the construction of comedy. That movie is so well written.
Yeah.
It has unpredictable things happen, but it's still fulfilling.
Yeah.
Bill Murray's performance as Bigger and McCracken is one of the greatest villains of all time.
Truly.
If you watch that movie again, every moment in that movie, not even just every line of his, but every mannerism of his, he's being a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Every single moment, and it's great.
Okay, music. You're stranded on a deserted island. You have 2 albums with you to help maintain your sanity. What are those 2 albums?
I'd probably say The Chronic 2. That pumps me up. It's funny, the song Still DRE is something that in this business, during those time periods when you're kind of down and then you come back with something, that's the song that's blasting in my car. And probably, Guns N' Roses, Appetite. In the finale of Cobra Kai, we used Sweet Child of Mine. So
Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine, and Welcome to the Jungle, just bangers. I love that whole album too.
The scene in Step Brothers with Sweet Child of Mine is one of my favorite scenes.
How you used it in the finale for your show. Sweet Child of Mine has been used to such wonderful and different effect in so many movies. Okay, amazing choices. Books. Do you have a favorite of all time?
I'd say favorite of all time, it's The Bad Guys 1, which is about the 1986 Mets. Outside of work and family, it's all the New York Mets for me. And it's a sad state of affairs.
I was going to say, I'm so glad. I mean, I love your wife so much. You have wonderful children. You've had this very successful career. So I'm so glad all that shit's good for you because to be a Mets fan is not an easy thing.
No, highs are high.
When Jessie Klein was here, she was talking about how, I think it was, she'd put on a dating profile, the 86 Mets are 90% of my personality. I'm from Philadelphia, so my sports allegiances are different, but I talk about understanding the underdog and just what a sports team means to you. Even when you move to outside of Pittsburgh, do you switch allegiances or are you still?
So I became a Mets fan while living in Pittsburgh. So I became a fan really in 86. I was, I guess 9 years old at that point. And that's when I started to get interested in baseball and the Mets were good at the time. It's funny because my parents are both from the Bronx.
Yes.
They were Yankees fans their entire lives. And then the Mets were good. The Yankees were bad. And the New York team was in the World Series. My dad gets me into the Mets. And then as soon as the Yankees get good again, he's back with the Yankees. And I'm
listen.
Yeah, so I'm loyal to the Mets.
I love it.
But the Pirates and Mets had a huge rivalry. I would go to the Three River Stadium and I'd be wearing Mets gear and adult men would be heckling me. So that's actually my comfort level. It's funny because I now live in Los Angeles and I go to Mets games. I named my older daughter, her middle name is Shue.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, at Shea Stadium. She is a huge Mets fan. And Randy, my wife, who you know well, was just you couldn't just let her be a Dodger fan. Her life would be, we live in LA.
I know.
There's a home team here that's great. and you made her a Mets
couldn't do
fan?
it.
And I'm just like, it builds character.
I was just going to say, it gives you grit. That can be 90% of her personality, and she'll be better off for it.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's called The Bad Guys?
The Bad Guys won. The thing with that team was they were notoriously just animals.
Matt Smith is grew up in Boston and is a Red Sox fan and was like, the 86 fucking like.
You read that book, you hear just what big animals they are. Jeff Pearlman's this amazing writer.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wrote the Tupac. I follow him on Instagram. He's fantastic.
He's great. It's great.
I kind of want to check this out, even though I have absolutely no connection or allegiance to the Mets. And
the way he writes the book, anyone could get interested.
Exactly. In okay. Last question. TV shows. Do you have a favorite of all time or something you've watched recently that you want to call out?
I mean, my favorite of all time probably is Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an easy answer.
It's true.
I'll say things that I've watched recently. I watched Rooster recently.
Yes.
And I love it.
Loved it.
I thought that was great.
I thought it was so good. It was so cozy also.
Yeah.
Man, does Bill Lawrence know how to deliver on.
God, yeah.
These are good people. They are flawed, but you love them. And they're quirky and specific.
And it's hilarious.
Annie Mumolo on that show. Get out of here. Yeah. All of them, though.
Everyone's great. I watched Shrinking as well.
I am obsessed with Shrinking.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Say more.
Yeah, so I'll just say both of those shows are some of my favorites that I've watched recently.
Me too. I am like going around town evangelizing about Shrinking as if they need me to do that.
Yeah.
My friend Karen Gillan, who starred in the movie that I made a couple of years ago that will at some point come out, they just announced it yesterday that she's going to be on the next season. And I am like losing my shit. It's incredible. And Harrison Ford. We were born in 1977.
Yes.
We worship at the altar, but every single thing about that show is perfect.
The one final show that I'll mention, because not a lot of people watch it, it's something that I made with my guys, is Obliterated on Netflix.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you're calling this out.
The reason I'm calling it out is it kind of got lost right after the writers and actors strikes. It was one of those things that we made the show. They kept delaying when it was going to come out because they wanted to be able to promote it in a big way.
Exactly, and they couldn't have the cast out promoting it if the actor strike was still going on.
Yeah, so it became a thing where they eventually were like, we have to pick a date. They picked a date. It was like 2 weeks after the strike, and by then, like all of the biggest stars in the world hadn't been doing any press, so there was no oxygen for any of our cast members.
Correct.
It came out there. And
it was so good.
For anyone who's interested, it's basically like 24 meets The Hangover.
Yes.
It was so much fun to make. All the cast was great.
Yeah.
All the side characters are great. It's an intense show because the stakes are really high.
Yeah.
And so it's unlike any hour-long show that you've ever seen, because the big comedy, like very R-rated.
Yes.
But like big action.
Yeah.
Like big action.
Yeah.
It was such a fun experience to make.
So great.
And it was the year that it came out, it had the most views of any show of Netflix that didn't get picked up for another season.
What a statistic.
So it was a great statistic.
Great.
But it was one of those things that it was right on the cusp. I think it cost just too much, and it was and like I said, it was at a time
and timing
and
everything.
The timing of it was
you'd be rolling into your fourth season now if the timing had been different.
And the other thing with that is I actually think that show would have done really well with a weekly release. More so than
than a binge.
Yeah, rather than a binge.
Interesting.
It's an interesting thing because that show, each episode is a lot.
Yeah.
Each episode is like you need to digest it, and if you have the time to digest kind of what happened, come down from the intensity, and then you move into the next week.
Exactly.
I think that would have been a really
I
fun
love
experience.
that.
Anytime I meet people like in the real world in random parts of the country, or even just in Los Angeles, and I mention that I did Obliterated, like most people don't know what it is.
Sure.
But if they do know what it is, they're like, why isn't there more of that? Like that show's incredible.
It's funny because we were talking about YouTube Red earlier. You can see over there is my fan art of Wayne.
Oh, Wayne's incredible too.
Thank you.
Wayne's so good.
And when Sean Simmons was here, he was talking about similar, different but similar. How he got the call that so your show's not canceled, the network's canceled.
Yeah.
And yes, exactly. Obviously, Cobra Kai went on in a different way, but I mean, those are 10 perfect episodes of television, and
great.
I will lay my body down in traffic for that show. But yes, Obliterated. And that's what's so gratifying too, when you do connect with people who are like, oh, I love that show. You see what we were trying to do.
Exactly.
It's awesome. Jon Hurwitz, thank you so much for being here. This was so fun.
This was the best, Becky.
I wish your wife was with you. We will figure that out for another time. Yes. You know how I feel about her. Randy, hi, I love you. Thank you. I never know how to end this, so I'm going to get up and give you a hug.
All right, perfect.
Thank you. General Meeting with Becky Sloviter is hosted and executive produced by me, Becky Sloviter. Our editor is Jay Rothman. Our audio engineer and director of photography is Hector Fernandez. Our tech producer is Griffin Davis. And our theme music is by Jay Rothman. Special thanks to Alni Atwell, Tanya Dahl, Carrie Potter, Andrew Sampson, Adam Shapiro, and Cody Blue Snyder. All of our episodes are on video as well on our YouTube channel at General Meeting Pod. Please consider subscribing there or follow the show on whatever platform you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at General Meeting Pod, and more information is on our website, you guessed it, generalmeetingpod.com. Thank you, and most importantly, even though they're not in season right now, go Birds.